Okay, so when you think about the late 1800s, what's on the dinner table? I'm guessing you're picturing heavy, meat-centric dishes, right? Well, get ready for this, because today we're diving into something that just completely flips that script. We're talking about a vegetarian cookbook from that exact time period. And what's wild is how modern its message feels. It really makes you wonder, right? What was on a vegetarian's menu back then? I mean, was it just a sad plate of boiled potatoes? The answer, as you're about to find out, is way more interesting. And it's all tied up in this really deep moral philosophy. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at this cookbook that was so ahead of its time. Then we'll get into the author's moral mission, her whole argument for compassion, how this book got a second life online, and finally, why these ideas are still so powerful today. Let's get into it. So, let's start at the beginning with this incredible artifact, a cookbook from the past that was already looking way, way into the future of food. And here it is, the Golden Age Cookbook by an amazing woman named Henrietta Latham Dwight. Now, this thing came out in the late 1800s, and let me tell you, it was way more than just a list of recipes. It was basically a manifesto. You have to remember, this was a time when big, meaty meals were the standard. So the idea of a meat-free diet, that was, well, it was out there on the absolute fringes of society. So why did she do it? What was her motivation? This wasn't about starting a new food trend. No, this was something much, much deeper. It was a philosophical mission. So let's really get into the why behind the food. Okay, this is one of the most fascinating parts. The words she used. Dwight didn't call it plant-based or vegetarian, not in the intro anyway. She called it a bloodless diet. I mean, just think about that phrasing. Wow, that is such a powerful and deliberate choice of words, right? It immediately makes it clear this isn't just about what you like to eat. It's a huge moral and ethical choice. And that really cuts right to the heart of her whole mission. I mean, the summary of the book on Project Gutenberg even says her main goal was advocacy. She was so smart about it, using this totally normal thing, a cookbook, to make a really radical argument for compassion. So let's break that argument down a bit. How exactly did she connect what we eat with this bigger, grander vision for the world? Well, for her, it was this whole holistic philosophy. It wasn't just about one thing. You know, for Dwight, the moral and ethical stuff, that came first. She drew a straight line from eating meat to animal suffering, but she didn't stop there. She also talked about how it negatively affects the people who eat it. So choosing a bloodless diet was like a win-win. You're improving your own health, and you're taking a step toward making the world a kinder, more compassionate place. And this really lays out the choice she was presenting. It's so clear. On one side, you have a diet she saw as harmful to animals and to people. And on the other side, a path that boosts your health and builds a better society. For her, it was a no-brainer, a totally clear-cut moral decision. Okay, so this is where the story gets really cool and takes a very modern turn. I mean, think about it. A book that's over 100 years old, it could have just vanished, right? Lost to history. But because of technology, it is having this incredible second life. I mean, just pause and think about that journey for a second. It goes from being a physical book, ink on paper, collecting dust on a library shelf, to being a digital file, something you can access instantly anywhere on the planet with just a click. That is just an incredible leap through time. And get this, people are still really interested. This isn't just some forgotten file sitting on a server. Project Gutenberg stats show that this book from the 1890s was downloaded almost 600 times in just the last month. That is absolutely wild. That's some serious modern-day relevance for a book that old. It's kind of like the book got its own digital ID card for the modern world. You can see when it was released online, August 7th, 2008. It's in the public domain here in the US, and check this out. The reading level is about 7th grade, so it's super accessible. It's been perfectly preserved and packaged up for a whole new audience as a totally free ebook. Which brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why is a cookbook from the 1800s, with this very intense talk of a bloodless diet, still grabbing people's attention today? It all comes down to this. Her core ideas are more relevant now than maybe ever before. Think about it. She was connecting what you eat to huge ethical questions way before that was a mainstream conversation. She got that what you choose to put on your plate actually has an impact on society as a whole. She's basically one of the godmothers of the modern plant-based and ethical eating movements. And, of course, the fact that anyone can download it for free just gives her once radical ideas a massive global stage. And that leaves us with one last really fascinating idea to chew on, pun intended. What Henrietta Latham Dwight was saying about a bloodless diet was seriously radical back then. But today, her arguments feel pretty familiar, don't they? So it makes you wonder, what about the food ideas that seem radical to us right now? What's going to be the totally normal, everyday stuff 100 years from now?